Hey guys, it's your main man Mike from EAKCrewProductions, and today I'm going to be bringing you a Gravekeeper deck. Alright, let's get into it. Alright, first off, 2 card D, 1 Assailant, 3 Commandant, 3 Descendant, 1 Guard, 3 Recruiter, 3 Spy, Dark Hole, 2 Stele, Heavy Storm, 2 MST, 3 Necro Valley, 2 Pot of Duality, 2 Royal Tribute, 2 Bottomless Trap Hole, 2 Dimensional Prison, 2 Fiendish Chain, 1 have Mirror Force, 1 SJ, and 1 SW, 2 Torrential Tributes. Alright, for the side deck we got Gale, 2 Fossil Dyna, and a Grand Mole, 3 Dimensional Fissure, 3rd MST, 2 Deck Devastation Virus, 2 Gozen Match, and 3 Mind Crush. We're not going to get into the extra deck, even though there is one. Just know that it doesn't really... Alright, so it's just a bunch of 4-star Exceeds. You guys can pretty much make that yourself. And you want to have some level 7 play, like your Arc Knight and your Black Rose Dragon for when you side in the Gale. Okay, so let's talk about some of the card choices. Alright, so 2 card D. This is because this deck is a little slower than some other decks in this format, like the very first, like top tier deck, like top tier 1. This deck could probably be a tier 2 deck. If you're experienced with the deck. But card D allows it to speed up a little bit. Also, it helps with your Royal Tribute plays. So you'll notice that I run 3 Necro Valley and 3 Commandants. So Commandants can search for Necro Valley. Boom, that's one part of the puzzle. Pot of Duality can also help you grab the Royal Tribute. And card Ds, even though you won't be able to activate the Royal Tribute, could have you draw into it. This deck has some good spells, some good traps, so you'd be safe for that turn. If they don't go all out, next turn you could maybe Royal Tribute them. If you weren't able to do it the first turn. I also run an Assailant. I like him because a lot of Exceeds nowadays is what people go into, and they don't always have the highest defense, even though they'll have a good attack. So Night Assailant, or I'm sorry, not Night Assailant, but Gravekeepers Assailant plus Necro Valley, so that he has his effect, can get rid of a lot of monsters. The Descendants at 3 is pretty obvious. He's your popper. I run 1 Guard because he is a built-in compulse, and he has 1900 defense. I mean, plus with Necro Valley, that's 2,400. So some monsters aren't going to be able to get over him that run into him, and he'll be able to return them to the hand and still remain face up on the field, or at least return them to the hand. 3 Recruiter, because he's the searcher. The Spy, he's the pluses. Other than that, the trap lineup is pretty normal. There's not really any need for like the 7 tools that used to be ran, so now I'm running 2 Fiendish Chain. And the Torrential Tributes pair really nicely with Gravekeeper Recruiter. So let's talk about why this deck in the meta and like the upcoming meta could be pretty good. Alright, so first off we have Grave Control. Necro Valley shuts off Banishing, which shuts off a numerous amount of cards in the meta. It shuts off Dark World's Gates, so they won't be able to use their field spell as a plus. Well, obviously they won't, because you'll be replacing it anyways. Then you have cards like BLS and Chaos Sorcerer. They won't be able to summon the board, so even if they top deck those monsters, they can't win them the game anymore. Elemental Dragons won't be able to banish themselves, so they won't be able to be as nutty. And plus you'll be able to drop side in the Gozen match too, so they'll have a hard time. Agents. They can't banish anything, which means their Hyperion play, they can't pop anything. Then they have the Pot of Avarice, that's dead. Salvage, that's dead. Alright. This deck also has Beat Sticks. With Necro Valley on the field, you're dealing with, attacks from, I think, lowest 17 all the way up to 2,100 normal summons. That's insane. It's got a heavy trap lineup. 11. It is not super heavy, but as you can see, all these are traps that pretty much can either disrupt your plays or clear out the board. So really powerful traps. The deck has some pretty hardy field control. Spy can net you the +1. Your recruiters are floating constantly, and Descendant allows you to get rid of your opponent's problem monsters and spell/traps. And of course, if you use them in conjunction with a recruiter, it's not even a 1-for-1, it's a plus. Even though you do lose a 1 monster from field retention. Then you have card retention, which is really in your form of your spies, which either gonna float or give you the +1, and your cards like Gravekeeper Stele, which is going to be able to give you a +1 right off the bat, and recycle cards that you've already used. Get your engine with your recruiters going back again, letting you use that Gravekeeper's Assailant to get rid of that monster, letting you search for that Necro Valley. We're letting you start to pop again, letting you return monsters. Then, of course, you have the Royal Tribute fear factor that I like to talk about. It's your opponent fearing that you're going to first turn Royal Tribute them, so they attempt to play as many monsters as possible that they have in their hand, which could lead them right into a dark hole play, which makes them lose. Sorry, you guys, I'm pretty sick. Now let's talk about the side deck. So, the Gale and the Grand Mole used to be main deck choices, but I took them out for the card Ds. However, game 2, if you're not playing a deck with a lot of spells, with a lot of monsters, you're probably deciding out Royal Tribute, unless you're playing against like Chaos Dragons or Agents, which first turn Royal Tribute like absolutely murders. But if not, you're gonna side these out probably. You're gonna put in the Blackwing Gale and the Neospatial Grand Mole. The Grand Mole will get rid of exceeds that your opponents have, fusions, problem monsters, And then Gale can also get rid of a problem monster by cutting its attack, but more importantly, allows you to go into plays like BLS. It allows you to not BLS, I'm sorry, Black Rose Dragon, and it also allows you to go to Arc Knight, which could net you, I believe, a +2 with Arc Knight, and then if you cut a monster, you'll probably be able to run it over with something, so like a +3, really. Then we have 2 Fossil Data, just because Special Summoning is really heavy this format, and honestly, before Gravekeepers had like Recruiter and Descendant, I used to play the deck, and I ran it with Packy, just because Packy is so good against really any format. And I think Plats were really big at the time. So Fossil Dino Packy is really good. He'll clear the board for you. 3-dimensional Fissure, just because it hurts so much of the meta, and you could just side out your Steles and like your Royal Tributes, and then you have Necro Valley, which is gonna make it hard for them to be able to do things, and then Dimensional Fissure, which is making it even harder. Mystical Space Typhoon, it's just the third one in case you playing against a deck with a lot of back row, and maybe your Descendant pops, your Heavy Storm, and your 2 MST just isn't doing it. 2 Deck Devastation Virus, you're probably ever going to side in 1, but depending on the matchups, like against Atlanteans, or Mermaid Atlanteans, Deck Devastation is really strong, so you might find yourself siding in 2. Although it'll probably be more like 3 here for like 2 Stele and the Tribute, and then take this one out for a Devi, and then maybe sided like 1 or 2 Mind Crush. So 2 goes in match because you have the attributes, and this will also really hurt Elemental Dragons as well. But this card just hurts a lot of decks. And then, of course, we have 3 Mind Crush, which is really good this format because there's so much searching. But it's also good with this deck's power too, because if you are able to draw a Mind Crush and you captured your Royal Tributes, then you can knock out all their monsters. Like, let's say you're playing against Chaos Dragons. You knocked out all their monsters, and then you have the Mind Crush, so you can call out their power spell or trap, and pretty much you just win. Like, they're probably going to scoop after that. But it also works out really well with Deck Devastation Virus as well, because Devi's going to reveal their hand, and so now you can Mind Crush them. So as you can see, this deck actually has quite a bit going for it. The real problem with it is just it's kind of slow, but that's why the card cards are there. And if you really practice with this deck, you can get it to where you know how to work the grind. And I don't think it'll be much of an issue once Elemental Dragons comes out, because this deck I think has a pretty good matchup against that deck. So if that becomes a top tier deck, you know, you can get some good matches in it against it. And then I think this deck has the ability to beat Murmels. You just, you know, you have to have the right side and draw relatively well. But anyways, that's Michael from EAK Crew Productions. I'll see you guys later. Peace.